Okay, we have to talk about the ending of Survivor Series here on Cover Killer Nation versus WWE. A couple weeks back we posted a video where we were talking about some of the potential outcomes of the World Title Tournament. Now we obviously now know the result of everything, but there are two matches in general that I want to speak about from a card that was largely forgettable. Yeah, that's just the reality of it. This was a largely forgettable undercard that was highlighted by what was going on sort of swirling around it. We had The Undertaker and Kane, the Brothers of Destruction, taking on the Wyatt family, and then of course the finals of the tournament. I just want to speak briefly about the matchup between the Wyatts and the Brothers of Destruction. Now, even though this was the 25th anniversary of The Undertaker's debut, this would have been a win that the Wyatt family could have gained a lot of momentum from, something that would have been very good for them. And we said this with the last pay-per-view as well, with Bray Wyatt going up against Roman Reigns. And something where the Wyatts right now, with every single big match that they seem to be pitted to be a part of, whether it be a tag match or a singles match, they never get the pay-per-view win. They're not being allowed really to take over and be the real fearsome force that they're trying to build this team up to be. And that's a huge mistake going forward, because the Brothers of Destruction, while they are iconic, they're not going to be able to carry your company forever with this whole angle. You need somebody to resume this role, only in a much different way. And calling Bray Wyatt the new face of fear and then having him basically do nothing fear-inducing at a pay-per-view, or something that would potentially cause the skin of the viewer to curl a little bit, and basically just handing him a bunch of losses, is not really a positive thing. Even though there is a history of people such as Kane having high loss records at pay-per-views, it's usually because it's an overall build to a storyline that builds toward a eventual brush-off match or a finale match. That's not something that's really happened here. It's really a situation where, after all that happened, the Wyatts should have gotten this victory and put the Brothers of Destruction on their heels. Kind of the whole passing the torch a little bit, which didn't happen. But onward to the World Title Tournaments, the WWE World Heavyweight Championship Tournament, whatever name they want to give it this week. We had four competitors in Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, Alberto Del Rio, and Kevin Owens that sort of paved the way for what this final was going to be. We knew going in that, despite Owens' claims, he probably wasn't going to make it through this quickly after being brought in. Del Rio had just come back. To hotshot him would be a mistake. So it was going to be Roman Reigns versus Dean Ambrose. It was almost an obvious thing. There's a couple problems with this, though. This is a face versus face scenario, which really should have bred the ground for a turn. And throughout the week, they were teasing this idea a little bit, with Triple H speaking to both Roman Reigns or Dean Ambrose, and they made their own individual claims of why they would not turn. And it was almost to the point where, if it would have happened, people would have seen that coming. Really, any angle here, people were going to see coming, including what happened. Roman Reigns did pick up the victory, which, while foolish, it sort of paved its way right into one of the plans that we had discussed on the previous video about this, because right afterward we have Triple H come out, Sheamus cash in, and Sheamus walk away with the championship. Okay, this is the part where things get a little rugged. I know what I had said in the previous video, that Sheamus winning this tournament would be a genuine surprise, but it would have been more of a surprise if he would have won the tournament even with the briefcase still intact. That way, if somebody ever came forward and was able to defeat him for the championship, he could simply cash in the briefcase and get it right back. It would have been a unique angle, something different, something that has not been done before. But instead, they went with the very safe and very casual angle of Sheamus aligning himself, obviously, with Triple H and with the Authority. The problem with this is that Sheamus, over the course of the past couple of months, has been relegated to low mid-card status, if not mid-card status. He's been in frequent tag matches or Survivor Series slash 8-man matches, and has been nowhere really close to the front line of the card. If they thought that this was going to be a surprise by itself, that briefcase takes away that element of surprise, essentially meaning that he could cash in at any time, and you're going to almost universally want to go after a world championship, because why the hell would you cash it in on something else? In fact, I don't even think you can do that anymore. But even more so is the fact that Sheamus is right now almost universally disliked, and it's not in the traditional heel setting. People think that he looks stupid. People think that his character's going nowhere. And he's essentially been nowhere close to where the top of the line is. It really feels, as a fan that knows a little bit of what's going on, it feels like this was a very cheap and almost perceived to be a very safe turn of events, with Sheamus having the blessings of Triple H, considering their long-lasting friendship. And by long-lasting, I mean, we have to admit, it's been 6 to 7 years at this stage. It's one of the things that paved the way for this. And it was a way in which to try to give the ending of this pay-per-view a real shock factor, when in reality, everybody who saw it just figured that was the stupidest thing you could ever do. Now, Sheamus is going to have to come out on Raw tonight, or the earliest of appearances, and establish himself as a huge heel. He's going to have to establish himself as the champion, and they're going to have to give him a little bit of momentum or get the title off him as quickly as possible. It's something where Roman Reigns could come out and demand a rematch tonight, and he could pick up the title if they really wanted to go that way, and actually give away a title reign on live TV, which is really something that does need to be done. I'm not sure if it needs to be done with Roman, but you kind of get the picture. Either way, they're going to have to build Sheamus up as some sort of anything, as opposed to just, hey, fella, I noticed that you wrestled 2 matches last night, fella, and, well, fella, I know that after wrestling 2 matches, fella, that if you win that championship, fella, it can get kind of heavy, fella, you know, so I fella and decided to fella with the fellas and decided to come down and take that thing off of your hands, fella, because you looked like you were really struggling with it, fella. So, fella, I'm going to hella-rella all up in the jella, and then we are going to go to Quella and hopefully find some brella. And, you know, maybe, just maybe, with the title not being around your waist, you can steal a Bella from John Cena-rella and get yourself some Snookiella. Something like that. They're going to need to do something with this character. They're going to make this... They have to make Sheamus look legit, because he's not looked legit for a while, and there's a good chance that if this fails, that it's really going to cause the prestige of the belt to really falter. And I would look for that to happen, because, yeah, Sheamus' title reigns have never notoriously went all of that well. So where do we go from here? What's really next to be predicted? For those of you thinking that Dean Ambrose is going to sweep in and coax the title off of Sheamus, or win the title from Sheamus, you're wrong. They essentially just set up the next rivalry, and they essentially have gift-wrapped the championship for Roman Reigns. It's a real shame, actually, that Roman didn't win this clean and stay with it clean for a little bit, where he could have traded the title a couple of times, and then whenever Seth Rollins came back, Seth could have easily said, would you look at this, Roman? You couldn't have done it without me not being here, me not holding this title. You had to do this whenever I was gone. You immediately could make Seth Rollins the same heel that he was upon his return late in 2016 and establish a rivalry that will probably be better than Sheamus versus Roman Reigns. Either that, or you could have done the same thing with Dean Ambrose. Really anything but this. This is a really poor move. It feels like it was rushed. It feels like they really didn't know what they wanted to do with this, which is kind of fair, considering the Rollins injury came as a complete surprise. But either way, the WWE are going to have to build up Sheamus very, very quickly and kind of establish him as a seasoned veteran, somebody who is always a threat to win the World Championship based around his experience and based around his size, his ferocity, his animal instinct. If they don't build him like that and try to give him some sort of cheesy, quirky story where the briefcase was essentially his ticket and all he had to do was take advantage at the right time, essentially the ultimate opportunist ideal that we've seen from superstars such as Edge, it's not going to have the same edge. Whenever Edge did it, it was fresh. Now it's just sort of a typicality. So hopefully the WWE can do something with Sheamus to make this title reign mean something. But I'm not looking really for that to happen. I don't think you're going to see very much of meaning happen in this company until around Royal Rumble time. But we could be surprised. Stay tuned, and next time whenever we come back and talk about the WWE, we'll hopefully be talking about something other than a pay-per-view mishap. Maybe we'll get into some of the reasons why this company needs to look for some long-term change in order to really solve a couple of problems that have been going on for a long time. Cover Killer Nation versus the world, and I'll talk to you later.